They won't accept that in my town. If you can talk and walk, that's it. And what I want people to understand a little bit better is that if you don't have MD behind your name, or a very distinct understanding of what you're looking at in an MRI or an X-ray, don't talk to me about my medical condition, number one. Number two, there are psychological conditions that are more deadly than the deadliest of cancers. And if you don't know how to diagnose those, or you think psychology is still some sort of opinion/philosophy field, you're just not advanced in your thinking. Because psychology probably kills a good half as many people. I don't have a stat on this right now, but I can find it, as does the worst type of cancers. Okay? There are real conditions out there. The DSM-4, I think they came out with the fifth one now, is not a joke. There may be 5-10% of the specific conditions and categories listed in there that are up for debate. But a good 90% of it, that's real shit that people suffer with. So until you have either at least PhD or MD, I'll even listen to you if you're a PsyD, okay? If not, don't talk to me about my medical conditions because you don't know. You may have one angle from one understanding based on one experience. That's not what I'm... That's why I don't try to understand your medical conditions, because I leave that to the professionals. And I'm a fairly smart motherfucker, as smart motherfuckers go. But I can't understand your medical conditions. You know why? Unless I have the exact same condition, unless I have the exact same history and education and environment and upbringing as you, I cannot possibly understand. I have to use my imagination, which is probably my greatest strength if I had to rate my own strengths. We're going to talk about people making mistakes about their own strengths later. I probably rate my imagination at the top, and I have to fully employ that fucking thing to try to imagine what it's like to walk in somebody else's shoes. DSM is cataloged under fiction at the Library of Congress. Well, that's a clerical mistake, at best, Barco. I mean, this hasn't been 1,000 years of research, now supported by math and behavioralist kings like B.F. Skinner. Even though I'm a fan of the evolutionary branch more than the behavioral, this shit's real. Diagnosable, treatable, repeatable in laboratory conditions. There's where you get your science. If this is real, if this condition's real, I should be able to find other people, and if I know A and B, I should be able to guess C and be correct, because we've seen A, B, and C with this person. And they do. And they do over and over. Cross-cultural lines, cross-religion lines. This shit's real. I don't know. Some people think the DSM was made up to make money. No, not so much. It just wasn't. I mean, I guess you could do this. Let's take the other extreme view. I like to do this paint by contrast. Let's say all psychological conditions are a matter of will. You just need to have willpower to get yourself out of a psychological funk. Okay? You suppose that would have worked with Dave Berkowitz? You think that would have worked out? Maybe Charles Manson? If that's correct, then these people could have willed themselves out of hearing dogs speak to them. These people could have willed themselves out of believing that someone was in their rooms at night rearranging things. That's just bad thinking. So where do you draw the line between bad thinking and a psychological condition? I agree that some of the problems in the poor community today in America reside in the will. However, I also know that many... Hey, Andrew, welcome to the chat, buddy. My favorite Australian's in there. And for those that I missed, we already mentioned Kim. Barco's in there, as usual. Barco, who has sent me a package with a new mixer, which I'm going to hook up tomorrow. This is why I'm not taking calls tonight, because I'm going to wait till tomorrow and have everything hooked up. And I think a condenser microphone. He's trying to make this show into something bigger than it is, folks. And I think y'all should give him a pat on the back. Seriously, my sincere thanks to Barco. He's helped this show. He's hurt this show too. But he did it willfully and with an understanding of what the end result would be. And I salute him for that. I love honest people. Guy Shea can be a mean motherfucker, y'all. And I mean that sincerely. He can be an evil bastard. But he's honest. Do you realize how much guesswork that takes out of you understanding somebody when they have no mask on and they're just pouring it out for real? See, Grandpa Al, and I believe Andrew recently, I'm not going to talk about specifics, opened up about some things in their past. But think about how much they may have talked before in which they weren't entirely open about those things. Look how much it took, at least time, at least in volume of words, before they finally opened up about something major, something you have to take your mask off to reveal. I love that. I think that's fucking beautiful. And Guy Shea does it every time he goes on the air. I mean, you guys may disagree with 95% of what he says, but I guarantee you, if you're a fair person, you're going to respect his level of honesty, and thereby I'm going to go ahead and describe the bonus integrity. And we're going to talk a little bit about these psychological, I don't want to talk about psychology anymore because we're thinking in the disability category. Let's get into the thinking errors. That's a whole nother deal. Yeah. Apocalypse is my first original fan. He will always have a special spot in my heart. And if I ever have a real studio, he'll have a special seat. It'll have, I don't know, built-in ass massagers and maybe special little vibrators that reach up and grab your dick and go yank, 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 yank. And also Barco, of course, he knows he got his chair in there. Kim will too. Stabby McHugs is in and out on me. I don't know. He likes me, then he hates me, then he's just talking about trivia. I don't know what to think about Stabby. But he is smart. I know that much. And I don't care how evil you are. If you're smart, I'll give you credit for it. At least on my scale. Because my scale, we're all pretty stupid, folks. All of us. It'd show me the brightest, and I'm still going to show you somebody who, compared to what we could know, doesn't know a whole lot of nothing. And and that was improper English, but when you major in fucking English and psych, you can say shit like that. Once you know the rules, you can break them, I say. As long as they're not laws, that's different. It's a whole nother story there, too. I'm pretty caffeinated. Quick interjection here, if I may. My Washington Capitals are sucking a little bit of ball hair lately. Yeah, how do you get up in a game 4-2? Right? I mean, in the third period or so, and then lose in a shootout. Because what they're sickened with, they have all this talent. They have a good new coach, a really solid coach with a lot of experience, came over from Nashville with Barry Trotz. They have this problem. There are two problems, and nobody really talks about this among my fellow Capitals fans and friends. First of all, 1 minute after they score a goal, they have a problem with letting one back in. It's like they're still jerking off to the last goal. I don't know what that's about. It just seems to have plagued them for the last 10 years. Second problem, holding on to a lead. Redskins, back when I used to follow the foosball, had that same problem. They would give up a fucking fourth quarter 15 or 20 point lead in a jiffy. You know what? All I got to say about that is until a coach forces them to play when they're winning as if they were losing, they're not going to beat the comfort while ahead trap. You can't get comfortable with a 2-goal lead in the NHL. You just can't. The snipers are too good these days. You know, if you're going to fuck around and slack on defense, you're going to lose. That's all. Grandpa Al, you were talking about how the mind works, and we are going to talk a little bit about that. But before I do that, I just want to check at the top of the chat and make sure I'm missing thinking errors, like you're listening to somebody but you're not. I'm not bipolar, Apocalypse. Saving APOC time to translate. APOC escaped my easy bake oven. Please return COD. Okay, yep, you're getting into burning and gassing the Jews joke, I think. I don't know. Okay, so I'm closing YouTube. Again, this guy's name is Austin Aitken, and he thinks if you're white, you're a pussy. You guys want to respond to him? Again, it's Austin Aitken. A-I-T as in Tom, K as in K-Tap, E as in Edward, N as in Negro. Did I just say that? Oh my God, I must be racist. Fucking dickhead. Yeah, he's a dick. I can just tell he's a dick. Even if it is a 12-year-old white kid being a troll, he had to assume dick position to put this argument forward. So he's a little white dick if he's not a black dick. Yeah, everybody that knows me knows I don't have a racist bone in my body, but fuck that motherfucker if he thinks this white guy's going to be pushed around. I'm not used to that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not used to seeing blacks come out militantly calling whites cowards. But ask him. When I'm in a group, or just sensing a group membership, even in an electronic format, like Facebook or YouTube. I'm very passive. I'm a listener. I'm interested in what you have to say. I learn stuff from people all the time, and I am addicted to knowledge. And half of it's bullshit. Okay, I'll admit that all this knowledge I'm taking in is not useful. It just feels good to me. I like it, okay? That's what I eat. I don't eat McDonald's. I want to know what you know about math and science and religion and philosophy and psychology. This is what I want to know. I want to know what you know about politics and culture and what makes things change and what doesn't, and what's a false concept and what isn't. These are the things I'm listening for. Rarely in that do I see a black guy rise up and say white people are cowards. When that happens, when a challenger rises up, pointing me out, attacking me on my identity, even if it's a vague generalization, I rise up then. That's when I become an alpha male. I never become an alpha male until I'm essentially woken up by another alpha male. And I think there's a part of me that just hates fucking bullies that much. That's what makes me rise up. And as soon as the motherfucker walks away, as they always do, I sit my ass back down and shut up. And everybody else talks. Yeah, this radio show was the most unlikely thing that ever happened. You can ask Kim. Kim, when we go to Old House Woods to hunt for ghosts, how often do I talk? Seriously, see if you can put a percentage on it. No matter who's there, no matter how many people, I'm the motherfucker listening. That's what I do. And it has its roots in a sad place. I grew up with alcohol in my family, and my mother often needed someone to talk to, and I would listen for hours and hours on end. Now, you want to get all Freudian and start pointing to that as the root of my ability to listen? I don't think so. I think that ability was already there, and it was simply employed with her. We make a lot of false attributions, and that's a perfect lead-in to what we're going to talk about in the second half of this show. If I do one that's as long as the first half, I'll call it the second part. That way you can't fuck me on time. I've got up here some human mind quotes. Now this is shit you could read on your own, but you can't read it and have this discussion about it like we're having now. So that's why I do it on the show. I've also got what I said earlier, the 10 cognitive thinking errors and 8 subconscious mistakes our brains make every day and how to avoid them. Now let me tell you something, people. First of all, I'm not the king of critical thinking. Anybody who thinks they're the king of critical thinking doesn't have a full understanding of their own faults, because it's impossible to be totally rational and logical. And here's one of the best favors you can give yourself. Do a serious internal investigation after understanding some of these concepts about critical thinking and confirmation bias we talked about, irrational behaviors, errors in processing. There are so many things. And then the logical fallacies, which I always talk about. If you take a look at those, let's say you spend 10 hours over the course of a couple months, and you're reading an article here and there, and finally you go to some web pages and you're reading some of the things, and you're saying, oh shit, yeah, I've seen this before. All right, here's the question. Can you put the handicap on yourself? So let's say somebody that was rated 100 is the highest you could be rated, of logical critical thinking scale, is perfect. They think exactly like a computer that is simply fed mathematical data. And then on 0, you have somebody who can't make sense of anything. And A never follows B, or B never follows A, and C never follows B. They can't put it together. Some of us sitting maybe, if we're lucky, around the 40 or 50 mark, I'd say. The question is finding where you are on that scale and recognizing it. Because if you know how seriously not to take your own mind, you're going to have an even more accurate view of reality in your head at all times. We make mistakes. We have, one of the things I want to talk about tonight was the perception blind spot. It's called a lot of different things. This is swimmer's body illusion. Where's the one I wanted to talk about? Overgeneralization, mental filter. I think I closed that one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's called something like, I don't know, something like logical blind spot, maybe, or cognitive blind spot. Basically, it's you can pick out your faults in your friends very easily, but you can't pick out your own faults because you just, it's a blind spot. You don't see it. You can't see it. You need someone else to point out some of your faults if you really want to know what your faults are. And once you have that, though, and you have an